testosterone, affects the insulin resistance, as well as the other hormones, and they just keep looping back and forth. And I'm going to show you kind of what happens in your body to try and, really make this clear for you, okay? So what happens normally when a woman ovulates is you have the ovaries and you have a balance of hormones, and when she ovulates, the egg bursts and it's picked up by the fallopian tube and it waits there to be fertilized. Now, if it's not fertilized, what happens is the lining of the uterus sheds and the ovaries, the follicles just sort of resorb. But with polycystic ovarian syndrome, what can happen is you get this irregular surge of hormones. Everything's out of balance. You have hormones in your pituitary that are out of balance. It sends signals to the ovary that cause anovulation. So what happens with polycystic ovarian syndrome is you don't ovulate. Those follicles don't produce the ovary to be picked up and get fertilized, and basically you're left with these follicles and that's where you get the cystic look of the ovaries, and that's why they see that on the ultrasound. All right, and that's why it got its name. Now, fertility. What can you do for the fertility? One of the best things you can do is try and keep your weight in balance, because that's going to help with the insulin resistance. All right, and then sometimes just with exercise and diet, it can restore your ovulation. The main thing that happens with infertility and PCOS is that you don't ovulate. And the idea is to restore the ovulation. So you would have to come off the birth control pills and then see if everything is restored by exercise and losing weight. If not, guess what? We got medications, okay? We've got things that we can treat you with to try and super ovulate you, and you can definitely have a baby, okay? Excellent. And you know what? As you get older, everything gets better. But it's thought that you would say that as you get older, everything gets better. And that's because those hormones are going to kind of ebb away, and they're what's causing this problem. Right. And so it's going to get better anyway. Okay. Okay? Okay. Sound good? Yes. Awesome. All right, our next guest will surprise when she learns her foot pain could be a sign of a hormone imbalance. Take a look at Beth's story.
My name is Beth, and I'm 45 years old. I've been an avid runner my whole life, and I run consistently about 25 to 30 miles a week. Last October, I noticed a little pain in my right foot while running, so I went in to see Dr. Radovich, and he could tell right away that I had a stress fracture in my third metatarsal.
There is what's a subtle evidence of a stress fracture. You can see these bones, and your fracture is right in this one. And this is a very stable area because there's two bones on either side of the one that you fractured. Okay. So it sets up a little bit of a red flag. Why would you get a spontaneous fracture there? So we're going to run a few tests to determine if there's some underlying cause.
Dr. Radovich suggested that I get my vitamin levels checked in order to rule out early onset osteoporosis.
The good news is your vitamin D levels are normal, calcium levels normal.
Great.
The DEXA scan's normal, but it's a little bit on the borderline of maybe some osteopenia. And because, again, red flag with this type of fracture, I think we're going to take it another step further and send you to an endocrinologist. In some women, particularly athletes that run a lot, their estrogen levels can deplete, and that can lead to thinning of the bones and sometimes an injury like this.
Dr. Radovich suggested that I get my hormone levels checked to rule out a hormonal imbalance that would cause early onset osteoporosis. My thoughts are that I just broke my foot from increasing my mileage too quickly. I don't think it has anything to do with my hormones, but it'd be interesting to get the results back to see what the issue is.
We set Beth up with endocrinologists
early onset
to determine Beth's hormone levels were putting her at risk for osteoporosis. Welcome to you both.
What can we do?
That connection, hormone levels, bone fractures, but explain about why that happens.
It's absolutely critical. So what happens is estrogen in women is the primary way we build bone density. By the age of 30, we have maximum estrogen and bone density. It's like your bone density. Over time, and from then on, and you're 45, guess what happens to estrogen?
When you get around to 45, your estrogen
so what we did is we
low
looked at some of your hormones, and we saw your estrogen level, and we saw your brain signal to your estrogen level, and guess what? Normal. You are premenopausal, not postmenopausal or perimenopausal, meaning you're not going into any kind of menopause.
And Dr. Manuel, it just struck me, we're doing an entire show on hormones. For everyone at home, an endocrinologist, that's what your focus is. In layman's terms, define a hormone, because I just realized we haven't really defined what a hormone is.
Yeah. So hormones are really proteins that we make in the body. There's all different organs that make them. The thyroid makes thyroid hormones. We know that the ovaries make estrogen. Testicles make testosterone. They're proteins that go to different receptors. Those are the locks. So the hormone's like the key. The receptor is the lock, and the hormone goes there, for instance, to the ovary, and it'll open it up and say, kick out an egg, ovulation. Or it'll go to the brain, and it'll say, think clearly, or to the
They
heart.
signal everything that's going on in your body. And I think what's so important is we talk about the importance of hormones and keeping your hormone levels at the right level. You can have too much of a hormone or too little of a hormone, and actually your doctor, Dr. Radovic, who was dealing with your foot problem, is here because sometimes we don't connect the dots, but you will see people with stress fractures or other fractures in their feet, and you actually will tell them, like Beth, you need to get these things checked, right?
Absolutely. When we get these spontaneous fractures, which in women over 40 I see very frequently, the first thing that's going to come to mind is they're in hormonal imbalance. But we'll work up some things like we did with her, calcium levels, vitamin D, which are very simple to do. But if I see those are normal, she's got a normal DEXA scan, I'm going to refer to an endocrinologist to find out if there are estrogen, testosterone levels that are different.
Dr. Radovic, thank you. And a lot of your referrals come from all different types of doctors. And in the end, you can teach people if they need to increase certain things. Like Beth, keep up all the great work. You look great.
Thank you.